So for anyone who has just joined us, welcome in this webinar. My name is Martijn X. I'm a historian at the University of Amsterdam, and it is my honor to introduce today's speaker, who is Marijana Grbeša, who is currently a fullbright visiting scholar at George Mason University, but whose home turf is actually Zagreb University in Croatia. She's a very esteemed scholar with a long list of publications specializing in political communication, political marketing, populism. So Marijana, I understand you're currently in the US because you want to witness the transition of power from Joe Biden to Donald Trump up close. So what would be a better place for that than George Mason, I guess. And right now you're going to speak to us about fun in politics and how entertainment and politics, I guess, have become ever more intertwined in our time. So we're all very curious what you have to say. Marijana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you for handling this meeting assassination attempt so well. So thank you very much. And yes, thank you for inviting me to talk at the CARP Lab, because I have been collaborating very closely with the CARP Lab in the past couple of months and also before that. And I'm very happy to be, in a way, kind of an associate, a satellite to your wonderful lab. And this indeed has been the right place to be for someone who is engaged with political communication and political marketing. So talking about the US elections and the current trends in political communication, of course, there are so many ways to approach the topic. And the one that I have decided the one that I have decided to talk about, and the one that Sergey and I have been discussing a lot and kind of monitoring a lot during this election is the pop culture and the fun element. So I'll try to kind of deconstruct a little bit today the role of pop culture in general and the celebrity component in the elections, which has been in a way controversial in this election, starting with the Taylor Swift, and before that the other moments also in the elections, the Brett moment, and getting the grand finale in the comments that maybe it was actually also amongst other things the celebrity support that actually harmed Kamala Harris. So this is something that I want to address among other things, and to talk a little bit also about the context in which this all was happening here, but which is also very illustrative of the digital context around the world. That kind of, my assumption is, and our assumption is, gives boost to basically to the importance of entertainment in contemporary elections. So I'm gonna share the presentation with you, and I hope you can see it. Yeah, it's here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to start with with the biggest hype, or one of the biggest hypes in the entire elections when it comes to pop culture and celebrity power in elections. And this is basically this moment, kind of one of the milestones in Kamala Harris' campaign was when Taylor Swift announced that she's going to support her. And it was timely right after the presidential debate. So this was a big moment in the campaign, and followed by a number of articles and discussions. Is this the moment that is going to help, and actually is it the game changer now, the biggest game changer in the campaign, which is going to help Kamala Harris actually win? Fast forward a couple of months after the elections, and this is how it looked like. So who cares? Did celebrity endorsement actually harm Kamala Harris? So first of all, I'd like to unpack the entire idea of celebrity endorsement, which is one of the kind of the basic component, or even the most rudimentary component of something that we define as celebrity politics. Celebrity endorsement is also part of the entire argument that the culture today and has become more and more celebritized, and actually that celebrity culture is the most pervasive culture of contemporary society. And basically the argument goes that we today, for different reasons, live in a celebrity society. So just very briefly, back to theory and this argument. Where does this argument come from that actually the celebrity component is so very important, not only in the field of politics, but also in many other fields of life? So I'm just going to very briefly introduce the argument of Oliver Gisens, one of the famous authors and important authors in the field of celebrity politics and celebritization, who basically argues that the pervasiveness of celebrity culture is to be attributed to three processes. The first one is democratization, the second one diversification, and the third one migration. So very briefly, what is it all about? So the argument of democratization basically says that anybody can be a celebrity. It's like the augmented or emphasized or boosted argument about the Warhol's 15 minutes of fame, right? So anybody can be a celebrity, especially in the age of influencers. So the second argument about diversification is that actually celebrities do not live only in show business today, but also in other areas of life, such as politics, business, academia. So think only about chefs and culinary dimension today, environment. Think about pandemics and how many celebrity doctors did we have, especially here in the United States, Dr. Fauci, but also in other countries. So this celebrity factor has diversified. It's not confined to show business anymore. And finally, the migration argument, which is very important for the concept of celebrity politics, which basically argues that celebrities migrate from different fields of life to others, and especially from show business to other areas of life. So this is very important because I'll talk today about people who migrated from show business into the fields of politics. Obviously, one of them is Donald Trump himself. So this is basically the concept which argues that celebrity culture and this entire notion of society becoming and democracies becoming increasingly celebritized, especially with the rise of social media, is basically these three processes are explaining what enabled the spread of celebrity culture. So back to celebrity endorsement, which is not a new phenomenon, although the argument is that societies are becoming increasingly celebritized, but celebrity endorsement is by no means a new phenomenon. So it goes back, especially in the United States, in the pre-television era, with the Hollywood being very closely connected to the presidents. And then, of course, the television era and the rise of the people who we consider today champions of, celebrity endorsements, such as John Kennedy. And then fast forward to other champions of celebrity endorsements, such as Barack Obama, who really gathered a long line of showbiz stars, actors, musicians, who really supported his both terms, with probably Bruce Springsteen being the most vocal and most prominent supporter and endorser of celebrity endorser of Barack Obama. And then we also had in recent times, especially with the candidacy of Donald Trump in 2016, something that we call basically we had a movement against a candidate. And we saw a huge army of celebrities basically rallying against Donald Trump, which happened again in 2020. 2024. And of course, the question is, with what effect? Especially because of Donald Trump, lots of discussion and lots of articles have been written about the actual power of celebrity endorsement, although politicians believe that celebrities can really help them for a number of reasons acquire and gain sympathy and votes, of course. Of course, the discussion is, and it has been ongoing, about the actual effect of this celebrity endorsement. This particular issue has opened up, of course, again, with the Kamala Harris, who had a huge support of Hollywood and the number of extinguished traditional celebrities from sports to, of course, show business. And I'm going to come back to this question. What's the actual effect of this celebrity support a little bit later? But the assumption is that celebrities can help politicians being elected for a number of reasons, because celebrities are important, because people tend to identify with them, because people idolize them, because celebrities have the capacity to mobilize and engage their fan communities, such as Swiftie is the paradigm of the fandom community, a very powerful fandom community. So these are a number of reasons why politicians consider celebrities to be very important in contemporary celebrity culture. However, we have witnessed that there's limit to their power, and we are going to come back to that. So this is another example of the brag factor at the very beginning of the elections, how the celebrity endorsement transformed into a campaign. So it's not only celebrity endorsement, but this is the moment in which basically a politician acquired and introduced the elements from pop culture into their own symbolic cue. So the bread color of Charlie X's album was basically something that dominated at some point in the summer part of Kamala Harris's campaign, and it was immediately linked to Kamala Harris. So this is another dimension of this spillover between celebrity endorsement and political language and political marketing. The next level of the celebrity politics mix is something that we call actually celebrity politics, and it comes into life through by embodying certain cues from celebrity world into politics. So celebrity politicians acquire elements from celebrity world and from pop culture into their own discourse. So it's not that somebody else is endorsing them, but they themselves acquire actually the role of celebrities, and they themselves become celebrity politicians, most commonly by introducing the cues from pop culture into their discourse. Again, examples of two champions of celebrity politics, Barack Obama, and before him, Bill Clinton. Another stronger degree of celebrity politics is the moment in which people from celebrity world step out and enter, so migrate, that's the migration component, migrate from show business into the world of politics. So they are also celebrity politicians, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably a very good example of this particular kind of politician. There is lots of literature, and lots of our scholars have provided different categorizations of celebrity politicians, as you can assume, based on their sphere of origin or the ways in which they play out their celebrity politics. So, but we don't have time to go into that today. but there's lots of literature about that. So another component next to how pop culture is being introduced and used in political communication is the so-called privatization of politics. These pop culture plus privatization are commonly recognized as two main pillars of celebrity politics. What does it mean, privatization? It means that politicians are in contemporary society trying to humanize their discourse. They are trying to appear not only as great professionals, but as great human beings as well. So in order to do that, they use different tactics to appear as one of us by, doing things that everybody does, whether it's the revelation of their segments from their private life, or engaging with different activities that people are going to recognize themselves in these activities, such as, doing sports is one of the very common things that people kind of relate with, and different other things and moments. But this component is very, very important. Of course, it's not only an American thing, it's like everywhere. It's becoming, the humanization is a very important and very pervasive dimension of contemporary political communication. This is Croatian former president Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović in Russia in the World Cup, when she became the star of the internet because she was the queen of the World Cup, because of the way in which she behaved, super spontaneously, just behaving as she was happy for the success of Croatian team who won silver medal. And she was, she was delighted, and she was really. This was met with great delight on the internet. Not so much in Croatia, so people were not really delighted with the way in which she was behaving, because lots of them considered her behavior humiliating, which also has something to do with the gender aspect of celebrity politics. But this is the topic for the CARP conference, probably in March. But she was. This is the illustration of what humanization would mean. How pervasive this component of celebrity politics is also demonstrated in different other countries. This is Piotr Pavel. He's the president of Czech Republic. But this is Ursula von der Leyen, even more interesting, who is the president of the institution, which is probably the most rigid and depersonalized European Commission in the world. However, Ursula von der Leyen started posting these kinds of posts on her social media, like having a jog, relaxing, or before meetings today and things like this. Why? Because she wants to appear as like an ordinary person, like one of us. Why? Because she wants to reach out and create attachment with the people. She wants to familiarize by proxy her institution with the people. So this is very pervasive moment in political communication and celebrity politics. This brings us to a very particular breed of politicians that we labeled celebrity populists. So politicians who tend to exercise or abuse, if you like, these trends in political communication related to celebritization and celebrity politics very successfully by merging the celebrity discourse with the populist discourse. So they very successfully combine the celebrity moment, meaning humanization, entertainment, pop culture, with the populist discourse, which combines the anti-establishment, the establishment against the people narrative. The paradigmatic examples of these type of celebrity populists are Volodymyr Zelensky, so Ukrainian president, who you all know, and who is unfortunately today a war leader. But he actually started his political career as a producer and a very famous actor and showman, so person from entertainment industry who, amongst other things, was a producer and was an actor in a Netflix TV series, Servant of the People, in which he was playing a very naive a man, a teacher who accidentally actually becomes president. So what did he do? Who basically translated his fictional story and fictional character into the real world in Ukraine before the war, when he was running in presidential elections, and he named his party Servant of the People. And he won landslide for different reasons, and he ran on a hardcore anti-establishment populist rhetoric. There are numerous cases of celebrity populists across the world today, and I just kind of pick few for the illustration. Beppe Grillo, next to Zelensky, is another name. So, man who's a stand-up comedian, was a stand-up comedian, and who has been defining Italian politics for so many years now, and who actually started his political career by mocking politicians. Javier Milei, president of Argentina, a very controversial president of Argentina, who calls himself libertarian and anarcho-capitalist, and who was campaigning, and whose biography is named Madman, whose nickname is La Peruca, the wig, because of his hair, and who had a super crazy, super weird campaign with this chainsaw, arguing that he's going to cut Argentinian inflation, which is a huge issue, of course, in Argentina, and who won on this discourse, and who is now the president of Argentina, and who also has this alter ego of a captain. You see him in this outfit, like a superhero outfit, who calls himself Captain Uncap, anarcho-capitalist, and this is his alter ego. So super weird combination of fictional character and a very controversial political candidate. And finally, of course, Donald Trump. So he's our case, and I'll try to deconstruct a little bit of his celebrityhood. Lots of great literature about the nature of his celebrityhood, about his ties with the wrestling world, about his tie with reality TV, and how actually his discourse of reality television permeates his political communication. So he before he even ran, he had huge ties with pop culture and the celebrity world. It's very interesting that throughout his first term and then between the elections and now, he has been promoting his anti-hero or hero narrative. Basically, also, and this is also very, as with Zelensky, as with Milei, a very interesting dimension of actually blurring the lines between fiction and reality, and satisfying people's needs for heroes in fiction, but also in the real world. And Donald Trump has been doing this in many different ways. So feeding people this desire for heroes who are going to protect them, and who are going to save them, and who are going to actually fight the fight against corrupt elites within the populist narrative. So that's the pop cultural dimension of his political communication. And there is the humanization dimension, which he has been exercising in so many different ways. And again, lots of analysis have been written about how he uses this or how this humanization dimension looks in the case of Donald Trump. But during the election campaign, we've seen many cases of this. Like, it was really present all the way, very aggressively throughout the campaigns. I picked a couple of very illustrative and strong examples, such as his McDonald's gig, basically when he was trying to provoke Kamala Harris, but then he had this entire social media campaign of just working in McDonald's, or the actually very strategically great reaction to Biden's gaffe about the garbage people, which wasn't actually Biden's argument, but this is how Donald Trump and his team twisted the argument and had basically this entire stunt again with Trump driving the garbage truck, which you can imagine was basically it was overinflated again on social media. It was trending everywhere, and it was super visible and understandable to everyone. But just to give you an idea of how strategic and how wise this humanization movement is with Trump, he basically built on something that has become the buzzword of contemporary political communication, and that's authenticity. That's the imperative in times of social media. And Donald Trump knows how to do that. He knows how to navigate and how to use the authentic discourse to appeal to people. Within the scandalogy and character assassination scholarship, impoliteness and politically incorrect speech are very important to understand the success of certain candidates in contemporary world. So basically, impoliteness in Trump's case and politically incorrect speech are basically the indicators or mechanisms of authenticity. Okay. This relates a lot to something that was defined in a book which was published some time ago, but which nicely basically explained back then the rise of conservative pundits and anchors with something that the author Diana Matt defined as in-your-face politics. And this is exactly the discourse that Donald Trump has been using from the day one. So I tell it as it is. I don't do staged politics like they do, Democrats do. This is politics in your face. It is authentic, whether you like it or not, but I say it as it is. It's also known as the politics of outrage. And then there are different terms that basically explain also what Donald Trump is doing within this similar context. So he is disrupting the norms, and disruption is the underlying value or tactics of his communication. So which is used as an antidote to polished and rehearsed performances of traditional mainstream politicians. Bad manners, as I mentioned, same thing as politics in your face, and then simplicity. So, which is super fit for the social media discourse. So lots of research also has demonstrated that Donald Trump uses a super oversimplified, super simple language in his messages. So the ultimate goal he's trying to achieve with this discourse is to capture attention, create shock, and of course, ultimately achieve his political goals and objectives. So after the elections, trying to deconstruct what the hell happened here. So lots of pundits, lots of journalists, scholars have came up with different terms to explain the discourse of Donald Trump, which is to a great extent rooted in pop culture and this discourse of incorrectness, authenticity, and disruption. So badass in statics is one of the terms which I think explains quite nicely some of the things that he was doing and still is doing. Then there is the great term by our friends, scholars from the scandalization from the scandalization pool. Intentional self-scandalization, so he's self-scandalizing himself to provoke and, of course, to attract attention. Then, very interesting and very importantly, is the role of humor. So how humor has been used in his discourse, and especially the role of humor in mainstreaming some potentially disturbing topics. And I'm going to show you the example you are all very familiar with of cats and dogs, and which is being combined nicely with the language of social media, with the most prominent language of social media, and that's visual language, especially the language of memes. So there are lots of accounts right now about the team who did meme operations for Donald Trump, and has been doing it again for a while now. So Trump's online war machine, so-called, which basically translated everything that was going on to the language of memes, which has been, and the data is supporting that, has been really engaging and appealing and very aggressive and pervasive. So his meme campaign or allolytics or memification, that these are basically the terms that address the role of memes in contemporary politics. So lots of examples how this meme warfare or meme online unit has been operating and very quickly reacting to everything. But probably the most notorious example is the case of Springfield and eating cats and dogs. So the way in which one obvious disinformation or lie or fake news, however you want to call it, has been translated into a like humorous set of memes, which mainstreamed and normalized the main argument, which is quite discriminatory and chauvinistic, but it became very funny, and people started sharing that no matter which side they were on. Lots of songs were composed, which became hits. That sang the song of the cats and dogs who were endangered in Springfield. So something that's actually very discriminatory has become really funny. And this, of course, when you put humor, and that's the power of mainstreaming, when you put humor in it, then of course it's not that dangerous anymore. It's not so controversial anymore. It's just very funny. And Donald Trump's team was and is very successful in weaponizing humor and memes in political communication. There is a whole segment of these memes called Dark MAGA, which is a series of memes that depict that actually embody this badass aesthetics of Donald Trump. At some point, and you all know that Elon Musk has said, "I'm not MAGA, I'm dark MAGA." So this is basically what it refers to. But it's very interesting that while Joe Biden was still in the race, that his team acquired or newsjacked in a way memes about Joe Biden that were produced by Dark MAGA team on the internet. But they took these memes and they started using them in the context of this badass candidate aesthetic. So and this is like the official memes from Joe Biden's campaign, and it was quite successful until it was not, because Joe Biden was not the candidate anymore. So before I kind of make my final point and a conclusion, so I want to give you also, I want to say a few words about the context, about the media context in the United States in which this entire campaign was happening, and then go back to the question, okay, of the power of celebrity endorsement. And the first question, did Taylor Swift help, or why wasn't helpful? Did it harm? So American US system, in comparison to other developed democracies' media systems, is super polarized, and it is one of the most polarized media systems right now in democratic world. So according to Gallup and other researches and polls, Republicans, people who identify as Republicans, don't trust mainstream media. So you can see the chart here. So 54% of Democrats tend to trust, 12% of only 12% of Republicans tend to trust. So the main source, according to Reuters Institute Digital News Report, the main source of news here in the United States, like almost everywhere in the world, is online. This particular research combines online news sites and social media. But when you look at social media only, it's 48%. So you can see that press is, of course, declining, and then television is also declining, not so much, but it's also declined when you look in a 10-year perspective. The very important number that is universal is basically the main gateway to online news almost all over. So in a vast majority of countries today is social media, which means that basically people do not go to online news sites directly when they consume online news, but that they get their news through their social media, which mainly means through their news feeds and others. So this is the trend almost everywhere. And then when you ask people, where do you get your news from? And this is not just the USA. This is the Reuters Institute Digital News Report, which looks into 40 plus markets across the world. And this is very important and very illustrative because it demonstrates that who are the authorities today in the digital world when we talk about news. And if you look at these, the table in front of you, then you're going to see that basically on, for instance, YouTube, it's online influencers and personalities that people tend to see as news authorities. Same thing for Instagram, same thing for TikTok, Facebook, which is still the number one when it comes to news online, news on social media. Online influencers are neck and neck with the journalists, and so it's quite similar on X. It's journalists still who lead the way, but influencers are breathing their neck. So this is very important, that the entire idea, not only about what news is, but who is the source of news and who are the authorities, who are credible people to trust when it comes to news, has completely changed, is completely shifting. And this is very important. The same research, when they asked people in the United States, who comes to mind first when we talk about news on social media, these are the accounts that people were reporting that come to mind first. So first person that people name, the account that people follow when it comes to news is Tucker Carlson and then Joe Rogan. And this is very interesting. So top 10, mostly conservative, mostly men. And you see that there is only one actual television anchor. So this is a very interesting finding. So fast forward again to the elections, and one of the most interesting findings when it comes to facts when it comes to voters' behavior is the shift of young men. Generally, the shift went toward Trump, but one of the things that was really intensively talked about is the shift of young men who, back in 2020, voted overwhelmingly for Joe Biden in this election, shifted to Donald Trump. And there is much argument that we are actually talking about the huge gender shift, which should be attributed to something, to the masculinity or macho narrative of Trump and his campaign, but also to the macho discourse of the rising celebrities of the digital world, so-called broligarchs, who are basically embodying the new group of celebrities. We may very conditionally call them like populist celebrity stars, but these people are celebrities in their own right, very different from traditional celebrities. We spoke at the very beginning when I spoke about endorsement, but these celebrities appeal definitely to young men and also others in this past campaign. Just to illustrate again, it's not a US exclusive thing. This young man is a member of the European Parliament. He is a prankster, and he is a YouTuber from Cyprus, who became very popular on YouTube when he said that his life goal is to hug Elon Musk. So he ran his prankster profile on YouTube, became very successful, did hug Elon Musk in the end, and then he ran in the European elections this year, and he was one of the most successful candidates in Cyprus, and he's now sitting in the European Parliament, and he has this great it's a great bond on his social media with Elon Musk, who is supporting his post, supporting his arguments. So he's part of this bro comradeship. And he was, of course, very populist in his discourse. Finally, so I want to wrap up by arguing that today political supporters cannot be seen anymore as merely political citizens and voters. That political science and political communication would benefit a lot to analyze voters as political fans. That the idea of basically political fandom is something that has been already present in the literature, and that this point in history of political communication merits more intensive focus of this idea of citizen fans. So I think that we can understand better the political process by seeing participants less as representatives and their citizens, so this the divide, and more as performance, politicians more as performance, and citizens as their fans. And I think Donald Trump really embodies this discourse and the need to take such approach in political science. And I'm going to basically wrap up with this final and a very recent case of Trump and his fragrance. So we have a president who is a brand and who is also who is mixing his political fight, his heroic moment of almost being assassin, with his very commercial product, and then uses a political situation and a very funny meme to sell his product. So it's super illustrative of this assemblage of pop culture, branding in politics, memification of politics, self-scandalization. So I think everything is in here. And to conclude, so basically we are witnessing swing from elitist celebrity politics towards a more populist celebrities. One of the things that I think was demonstrated with these elections is that politics must not be boring, especially with the young audiences, that content that has been heavily coded in memes and pop culture references has been trending heavily online, that the notion of mainstream is changing. So I would like to argue here that Joe Rogan and other podcasters who have been labeled alternative should not be considered alternative anymore. They are the mainstream, especially for young audiences. Disruption has become the norm in politics. Differences between politics and pop culture and fiction have been blurring. I try to show you a few cases which I think speak to that. Who are the news authorities? There has been such a huge shift which cannot be ignored anymore. So journalists are not the main news authorities anymore. The paradigm has been changing, but context still matters. I spoke quite generally about things today, but the context still matters, and the things and the trends are not entirely same in all democracies worldwide. And thank you very much. I'd be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Marijana, for that wonderful talk. I invite everyone to put their questions in the chat, and then I will read them out loud to Marijana. And while you do so, let me take the opportunity to ask the first question. So you talked a bit about social media and how important those have become in political discourse these days. Would you say that the introduction of social media has really been a game changer in the sort of processes that you are describing, or do you think that this celebratization of politics was already occurring before and has just received an extra boost from the introduction of social media?
Yeah, I'd say that it has been definitely happening also before, but I think the way in which has been boosted and augmented with social media and the guise which basically it took with the rise of social media is something that is definitely new, and it is a game changer in so many ways.
Mhm.
I especially believe, and there is also research about the how especially young people see the difference and similarities between celebrities and politicians online, and to which extent they are certain features of celebrity culture appreciated with celebrities and with politicians. So take, for instance, authenticity, which is a very super important component here. This is something that is very important in the digital context, in the context of social media, because social media encourage this notion of authenticity and encourage the entire proximity idea, a notion and sense of proximity between voters and politicians, between fans and celebrities. So I think that there are certain components of celebrity politics that are social media specific.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. I see several questions in the chat. One is by Grace Furlong. Do you think celebrity endorsements were important to the Republican Party's strategy of division among voters, promoting the othering of societal groups to make votes feel under threat?
Yes. This is very interesting. So I think that there were or still are a group of celebrities who do promote the othering, and definitely Elon Musk being one of them. So I do think that they did contribute to strengthening this narrative of othering. And if you think of the basically also people who introduced the cats and dogs argument, it was basically celebrities on stage who were also talking about garbage and other different tropes. So I think they did contribute to that argument, because that's the main idea basically of celebrityhood, that they can basically emphasize certain discourse and promote political message, whether it doesn't need to be a liberal message necessarily. So, but also there's this whole thing about Hollywood, which I think is maybe a separate topic. It is a celebrity topic, definitely. It's the backbone of the celebrity politics, but also it's a big topic per se. So the idea of the liberal celebrity supports, and in the illiberalism context, that's also a very important topic. Whether this illiberal incentive coming from celebrities also played a part, and also was something that the other side was basically responded against.
Yes, thank you. A question from Sergei. What was the role of podcasting communities during the 2024 presidential election?
Yes, that's a huge topic, and it's actually I think it will probably be one of the most important one for the media and political elites, and that emphasis media. And since I'm coming from Europe, I'll probably also say for the policymakers, because I think the way in which this entire podcast universe was ignored on part of the maybe even us scholars was impressive. And I don't think that, as I said previously, I don't think that it should be considered alternative universe. Even the Reuters Institute report acknowledged, and this is very interesting, that most of the people who are now trending as the alternative universe actually come from legacy media. So Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and others, they all actually started their careers as mainstream anchors, journalists, and faces.
Yep.
Definitely. So individuals. So I think it's like the role of podcast is super important, but I think what's like a question, a discursive and a policy question is, the fact that podcasts are being considered news, and that influencers are being considered like news authorities. I think that's one of the key questions that really kind of should become super priority, for everyone, especially with this election.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, it seems that lots of lines are blurring, lots of distinctions that we used to make. There's a question by Abby Solipuram. I completely understand the argument that it has become mainstream for younger voters, but what do you say about middle-aged and older voters who make up a much larger percentage of voters in the US?
Well, I'm gonna quote a student of Sergey and mine, because we were like super confused and impressed, both of us, at one point in the classroom when we started talking about this information, and students just spontaneously and intuitively just said, yes, it's a huge problem with older people, because they can't read what they see on the internet, and they don't understand it's a problem. And then I was like, really? And you think you can understand? And they were like, yes, we can easily, we can, for us, and we can check other sources, we can navigate, we can see when something is fishy, but they don't. So I was actually very impressed how young generations, which are usually considered the problem. So thank you very much for this question, which are like commonly being recognized as a problem, but actually that they recognize the older generation as the problem, because they're not checking thinks they're just forwarding whatever they get. They don't understand the difference between news media and whatever else they find on the internet. So yes, I also and in Europe there are lots of campaigns which are actually targeting, you know, middle-aged people and older people who have been in many ways identified as, you know, disinformation spreaders.
Yeah, interesting. Rod Carviff has a question. The use of celebrities by the Democrats reinforced the message from Trump/fans that the Democrats were elites and that MAGA were the normal people.
Yes, yes. That's true, because in this discourse that I kind of tried to illustrate that combines this entertainment/celebrity/pop cultural moment and populist discourse, the Hollywood celebrities were identified as, you know, the elites, as, you know, as them and us, the people. So we are, you know, trying to fight them. And then you have Elon Musk, who is the richest man alive. And then, you know, there's the absurd, but that's the power of their communication. They were very successful in appealing to, you know, especially the working class, by, you know, identifying like celebrities who supported Democrats as those who are just, you know, one of them. So yes, that's absolutely true.
Yeah. I want to give the floor to Steve Livingston, who has some comments or thoughts that he'd like to share.
Thank you very much. I thought maybe it would be helpful for us to get out of the moderated Q&A for a while and have a bit more of a discussant sort of role and reflections. What I bring to the discussion is actually a bit of naivete, which sometimes is helpful because you don't come with the presuppositions. You're looking at a topic fresh. Marijana, as you know, Lance Bennett and I, either individually or separately in various ways, have been trying to think about contemporary media, politics in perhaps a slightly different way. And if I were to simplify our approach, we are suggesting that we need to understand media characteristics, media effects in the context of larger political, historical, and economic forces. And so rather than focusing all of our attention on the characteristics of particular kinds of messages, particular kinds of media, we're backing up and we're saying that media operate within the context of politics and economics. If you hold that in mind, the driving economic and political factors that's driving American politics right now has to do with the lingering effects of a change in orders. The neoliberal order seems to be dying and is being replaced. And as Antonio Gramsci said, in those interregnum periods, what you find are a lot of monsters, a lot of unpredictability, a lot of unexpected events. What we're seeing so far is that there is now an emergence of a post-liberal or illiberal order that is doing battle with a legacy establishment order. And the kinds of celebrities, if you will, to use that language, or the kinds of charismatic individuals, to use Max Weber's notion of charismatic leaders, the kinds of leaders that are emerging in these two competing spheres certainly have celebrity status, but they have very little overlap. So the idea that Beyonce or Taylor Swift was supportive of Harris is counterbalanced by a different set of actors who are also celebrities in the illiberal sphere led by Donald Trump. And so if this is the case, I guess if I do have a question here, rather than this just series of observations, isn't it the case that what you're doing is you're seeing a battle over an establishment and a counter-establishment or counter-public, and that Candace Owen or Elon Musk, or if you wanted to find, as odd as it may strike you as for me to say, if you wanted to find a hero of the post-liberal side of things, you'd look at Oliver Anthony, who is maybe somebody you've never heard of, or maybe not. Some of our European friends, yeah. Oliver Anthony was an online phenomenon, and he spoke to some of the anger that's emerging in this post-liberal and maybe post-neoliberal era. So backing up and putting this conversation in a larger political, economic, social context might bear some fruit. And that's all I wanted to offer. I appreciate the opportunity being able to sort of serve as a spontaneous discussant about all this. And I'm eager to hear what you think about that.
Yes, it's of course super important, especially, and I think that the neoliberal / illiberal dimension is super important in all of that. And you probably noticed that I'm sticking to the populist paradigm quite a lot. And this is because, and of course, and there is a reason why illiberalism studies departed from this populism concept a bit. But I think, and I'm doing it in a way also on purpose, because I think that illiberalism, neoliberalism dimension is an ideological entire discourse, and the political economics is super important dimension. But I also think, and there's lots of proof for that as well, that the populist rift or gap should not be abandoned, or cleavage, if you like, because there were examples, not many of them, but there were examples where the populist cleavage was more important than the illiberal one. With the celebrity entertainment people were leading this fight against the elites on the liberal spectrum. So it was the liberal celebrities' rage against elites. Take the example of Iceland and Jon Gnar. He's one of those. So I think if we look at, if we kind of look exclusively and take that the ideological component as the most important, and I think it is like very in this election it was like maybe the key component, but I think it might overshadow the other important aspects of this phenomenon. And what I really want, and that was my perspective today, to emphasize is that this imperative of entertainment and this disruptive discourse in the social media reality today. So I just think that the ideological component is super important, but should not be taken as the only one, and not necessarily always the most important.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we've been going for about an hour now. I suggest that we still do the two questions that are left in the chat, and then we wrap up the discussion. So there's a question from Tyler Johnson. What sort of advice would you give to Democrats in 2028 on this front? Are they spending too much time chasing celebrity endorsements in general, or perhaps they need to rethink the type of endorsements they are chasing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much. I think their entire campaign is, they need to rethink. I think not only them, I think that's why that kind of my argument about the mainstream in generally, I think this is one of the concepts that needs to be really rethought. I mean, and I think their entire discourse was very mainstream, traditional, however we want to call them. It was like a very by the book approach to political campaign. And I think that with what Trump is doing, that he's like disrupting also the norms of political marketing, and this is not something that's appealing to the new audiences or to new fans. That's why I kind of am also insisting on that concept, because certain different rules apply, and I think there's something we can learn from that. That politics and mainstream politics, speaking in these dying terms, I think should learn from that. And this is something that the way in which Trump is like blending his perfume and memes and this is the world in which new audiences, young audiences are being groomed and cultivated. And I'm not sure that the discourse of traditional politics that Democrats are really sticking to still will be able to survive.
Yeah. So one final question from Marko Selakovic. This was a bit of guerrilla campaigning for the Republicans, so I guess that ties into what you were explaining just now. And it seems that it worked quite well. Do you think that both mainstream media and some social media are recognized by the voters as agenda-setting weapons? And related to this, were alternate media used for message delivery more impactful than celebrity endorsement that went through the above-mentioned media?
But I think, yeah, definitely, especially, I mean, in the US, the system really is very polarized, the mainstream media system, but also if you go to the internet everywhere, it's just, the bubbles thing and the just people who are being fed different media diet just have a very different idea of the not reality, but the different idea of what's actually going on. And I think that this discourse of, you don't know who to trust, or or I know who to trust, has been really normalized in many contexts, and especially I think here in the US context, it's kind of recognizable that lots of people who voted Trump, for them is just very casual things to say that, just you cannot trust CNN. Oh my God, it's, they're so biased and they are just it's fake. It's all fake. It's like so casual, as if you're saying, there are so many different fake accounts and, very biased accounts. It's just, the way in which Seoul mixed together, and how this difference between something that's like a professional media and unprofessional source of information, I won't say news, has been like has been put into the same level. That's impressive, and I think unfortunately I'm not sure that there is going back. I think that institutions need to really rethink this entire context. And I think, and I'm going to finish with this, I think that institutions all over, mainstream institutions, like the old notion of mainstream, have been so ignorant, really ignorant about the things that are going on in the world of social media and what we call alternative media. And I don't think they can really close their eyes anymore.
Yes, yeah. So thank you, Marijana. It's been a splendid session, I think. Thanks for helping us make sense of this brave new world that we seem to be entering. So I want to ask everyone in the audience to please to join me in giving you a digital applause. It's been a very interesting hour. Thank you all for attending this session. I'm sure we'll be back with a new webinar, and I also hope to see some of you at our 2025 conference in March. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you everyone for coming, really, and spending your time on this session. Thank you.